The Windsor's reaction pours in.
The whole world is talking about it. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
They're essentially quitting the royal family.
The Queen reportedly left in the dark.
The global reach of a global brand.
Harry y Meghan.
El príncipe Harry y su esposa Meghan Markle.
Royals who've decided they no longer want to be royal.
And live without financial help.
The shock no greater than on home soil, back gracing the front pages they've dominated since first getting together. Hundreds of millions around the world tuned in less than 2 years ago to watch Prince Harry say, "You look amazing," to Meghan Markle, a divorcee, an American, and the first woman of colour to marry into the British royal family. But after the brightest of days, it appeared came darker ones, as the Duchess of Sussex alluded to in a documentary last year.
Not many people have asked if I'm okay, but it's a very real thing to be going through behind the scenes.
And the answer is, would it be fair to say not really okay, as in it's really been a struggle?
Yes.
And as for Prince Harry, who was once so close to his brother Prince William, a rift appeared to grow.
Look, we're brothers, we'll always be brothers. We're certainly on different paths at the moment, but I will always be there for him, and as I know he'll always be there for me.
The royal three spent their son's first Christmas in Canada, away from the Queen, and yesterday, after returning home, announced they were stepping back and spending more time in North America, but apparently not clearing it with the royal family first, leaving them reportedly blindsided and hurt. They broke the news to the world with a new website describing the role they want to carve out and how they'll pay for it, saying they want financial independence while they continue to use Frogmore Cottage, which was refurbished in 2018 using £2.4 million of taxpayers' money, and will still have the publicly funded provision of armed security by the Metropolitan Police. Republicans say they can't simply pick and choose which perks of the palace they enjoy.
You know, if they want to live privately, then they need to renounce their titles, abandon all claims to all public funding, and go and do their own thing. And had they done that, I'd be standing here cheering them on and saying, well done you. But they have not done that. They still want to cling on to the purse strings of the British taxpayer, and they still want to have that status that we have given them.
There is a certain amount of security, whether or not he wants it, that he just needs because of what he's born into.
Yeah, David Beckham needs security and he pays for it himself.
On their new website, the Duke and Duchess published what was effectively a manifesto of how they're going to deal with the media in future. And part of it was an attack on this, and specifically British media and royal correspondents for their monopoly on royal coverage, and essentially accusing the media of making private profit from their very public lives.
They talk specifically about the Royal Rota, where British media cover royal events to be distributed around the world.
Obviously claims they feel they've been hounded by the media, etc. But in reality, there's been nothing like that.
Come on, you would say that.
No, the Royal Rota system works, I think it's given them an awful lot of, it's been going since the 1950s. And one must remember that this is an unelected institution that relies upon media, publicity, the public support for its life's blood.
According to branding experts, the future for the not-so-royals looks very wealthy indeed, but needs to be considered.
I mean, the risks are huge, potentially. And obviously you can look at all this opportunity being out there, but I think it comes down to a lot of foresight and a lot of due diligence. You know, if they are going to go in and go into association with certain brands, businesses, whatever that may be, but really having a proper understanding all the way through the supply chain, the environmental credentials of those businesses. So there is nothing that can come back and in any way question their integrity.
And to prove their worth, the company that designed the Sussex's new website is already telling the world about it. The Queen has tonight directed all 4 royal households to find, quote, workable solutions with the Duke and Duchess within days, not weeks, according to a Buckingham Palace source. For Brand Monarchy, though, this is possibly shutting the palace gate after the royal horse has bolted.
Paul McNamara reporting. Well, according to a poll by YouGov tonight, 45% of the public support the Duke and Duchess's decision to step back as senior royals. Just 26% are against it. After announcing their engagement in 2017, the couple made their first joint visit to Nottingham, where Meghan was given a rapturous welcome, and many were excited by the prospect of a person of colour joining the royal family. Jane Dodge has been back to Nottingham to find out what they think now. And there are flashing images from the start of her report.
You're 11. Remind me never to get away with you again.
Prince Harry rolling with the punches, this time at a boxing club in Nottingham back in 2013. At his side, the manager, an ex-gang member, Marcellus Baz. But now it seems the Prince is taking off the gloves and calling time. It's a decision that's left people in the city reeling. Nottingham School of Boxing was set up to try to stop young people like Raekwon from getting into trouble.
It's nice to have someone a lot higher up to see the club coming to a success. I'm watching the young kids go to their potentials, to be fair. So yeah, it's a privilege having him.
What has it meant to you?
It's great, you know, so obviously I can get back in training and everything, and hopefully you'll see me in the future as well.
Prince Harry says he's stepping back from his royal duties. Marcellus Baz is hoping that won't be a knockout punch for his charity.
I was shocked, and I thought it was a very bold decision from Harry and Meghan. I can understand why, but, you know, with the media kind of hounding them, I think they just want their son to be brought up very differently without the media spotlight. But whether that's going to work is very debatable, because they'll still be high profile and there'll still be media attention around them.
Thousands lined the streets of Nottingham for the royal couple's first official visit in 2017. Meghan Markle met some of those involved in the projects Prince Harry had made his own.
You've got that confidence to be able to just...
The community recording studio in St Anne's is one of his favourites.
Prince Harry has been coming here since 2013, sometimes with cameras present, other times in a private capacity. His support has proved vital for the survival of projects like this. But like the royal family, staff had no idea this was coming.
Unsure of the implications, people here didn't want to speak. Prince Harry has also become a regular visitor at Nottingham Academy, which is in St Anne's. For those like Sadie Maguire, who lives in the area, his support has been vital.
It's important because it made people from St Anne's feel like we matter. People who always, an area that always receives bad press and has a bad reputation. The fact that he took the interest in our community and was as active as he was, it just made us feel like we mattered.
Are you worried those visits will now stop?
No, I don't. I'm hopeful it will continue.
He may not have mentioned the media this time round, but in the past, Prince Harry has accused the tabloid press of running a ruthless campaign against his wife, a campaign some have put down to her race.
But some of those representations have included, for example, you know, very racially loaded headlines, you know, referring to her as straight out of Compton, most famously in the Daily Mail. Rachel Johnson talking about her exotic DNA, which is this kind of colonial metaphor. This idea of Meghan being an outsider in some way, not compatible with the values of the British royal family. Those have all had a very, very strong racialised element, beyond subtext, actually, very overt racism.
For Raekwon, Prince Harry's support has been an incentive. For Marcellus Baz, the fact he married a woman of colour was a sign of change. They're both hoping the couple's decision to stand back won't mean an end to their visits and their dreams.
Jane Dodge reporting. Well, how viable is Meghan and Harry's ambition to carve out a special new way of being a modern royal? I'm joined now by the Daily Mail's Robert Hardman, author of Queen of the World, a biography of the Queen. Thanks for coming on the programme, Robert Hardman. So it seems that the Queen has given in to their demands, as it were.
No, I don't think she's given into the demands, Matt. I think what she's said is, can we please get on and sort this out amicably and certainly privately. Last night's statement came as a complete surprise to both the Queen and the Prince of Wales, who are very much taking a joint lead on this. And for them, they don't want to go for a punitive response. There's no point sort of showing strength or in any way slapping Harry and Meghan down. They just want to get this resolved. Ultimately, this is a very sad internal family dispute, and they just want to resolve it as a family.
But judging from what the papers were saying this morning, including your own paper, I mean, there was real fury in the palace. The Queen was very upset that she wasn't told about this. And it's taken a remarkably short time, if you're right, to find a practical solution.
Well, I don't think they've found a solution. And what the Queen is saying is, let's get on and find a solution. Clearly, we can't have a situation where one side or another is sort of briefing in public, as happened last night. They're not. There's no sort of pulling back from. I'm certainly not hearing today any pulling back from voices at the palace saying how unhappy they were about this. The word shoddy has been bandied around, disappointed, hurt, dismayed. That's still very much the case. But rather than dwelling on it and taking sides and, as it were, sort of entrenching positions and preparing to sort of lob shells, I think the Queen, and she's always been one for sort of sensible, pragmatic consensus rather than confrontation. I think she's decided this is a family issue. Let's just try and sort this out, but let's do it. Let's negotiate privately, because when you negotiate in public, things get very ugly indeed.
But even the palace is always talking about a slimmed down royal family. This is a crash diet for them, isn't it? They, you know, less money for Meghan and Harry, they go and do their own thing. Who can possibly blame them for wanting to live their own lives like this?
Well, look, they're clearly very unhappy with the royal existence that they have at the moment, and the way that their public life impinges on them. It's something they clearly want to change, and many people have sympathy with that. It's understandable. The crux of the matter is you can't be half royal. You can be part of the royal machine. You can accept the privileges that go with it, but also take the restrictions and all that, and you live in a sort of bubble, or you can stand back. I mean, the next generation of Dukes of Kent, Dukes of Gloucester, they're private citizens. No one would recognise them in the street. You can go down that route if you want. What you can't do is to be sort of transatlantic royals who drop in, do a bit of royal stuff, but then go off to do this sort of financial independence stuff in LA or Toronto, wherever it is. It's not that anyone wants to stop them leading the lives they want. It's just it's not practical. People need to know where they stand with the monarchy. This is a very opaque. No, well, we don't. This is an opaque line between sort of royalty and celebrity.
Okay, and also
it's not sustainable in my view.
Sorry to interrupt. They're also using the Sussex brand name very effectively on their website, which is a rather slick operation that was, you know, probably put together over weeks, if not months. I mean, it does seem to be as if they're having their, at the moment, they might be having their cake and eating it.
As the Prime Minister would say, his famous dictum about being pro-cake and pro-eating. I mean, yes, that point has been made. This came out of nowhere last night, but suddenly there was this website that had clearly taken months to prepare, and it's not .org or .gov or .royal, it's sussexroyal.com, and that speaks for itself. They are going down a commercial route. You know, some will say good luck to them, but it comes with caveats.
Just briefly, how upset are you? You had 17 pages on this story in the Daily Mail this morning. How upset are you that you're now going to be cut out of the royal rota? That's gone. Briefly.
Yeah, well, under the new terms of operation, apparently they will be vetting those media organisations that are allowed to cover them. I don't really see that as being sustainable. You know, I mean, it's the nature of the press to hold authority to account, particularly unelected authority like monarchy. It's what we do. Sometimes they love what we write, and sometimes they hate it. Okay. I think the Duke has obviously talked about a ruthless campaign, but to be honest, it's good and bad. It's the nature of royal life, and I think trying to vet, weed out disobliging commentators. Let's see how it works, but it doesn't smack to me of a constitutional monarchy at work.
And what do you say to those critics who say that your coverage in the Mail of the royal couple, of Meghan especially, has been tinged with racism at times?
Yeah, I've sort of heard that today. People have gone back to again and again to two particularly unsavoury headlines that I wouldn't particularly endorse from 2016, when people didn't really know who this new girl in Harry's life was. I think if you go back over the coverage since she's been part of his life and part of the royal family, it's overwhelmingly positive. I just don't recognise this idea. I think there has been a lot of unpleasantness on social media, but I think one needs to draw very strong difference between the two, and I just find this extremely sad, and I think most people do as well. I think it was such a wonderful day back in May 2018. There was so much promise there. There still is. I mean, we could resolve the situation, but they've done so much good. You saw it in Nottingham. You'll see it at the Invictus Games. They're a great asset to this country. So let's try and make it work.
Okay, no time.